Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition, a Hollywood Squares edition here of the Steel City Underground podcast. That's right, it's a three-way, no inside dirty jokes here with myself. My name is Joe Kuzma, one Mr. Brian E. Roach over to my left or right. I don't know which is which, kind of like my kid. And to the bottom here, if you're watching on YouTube, Zachariah Meckler. We've been calling Zachariah. I don't know why. I don't know. It was something about angry Amish warriors and where he used to live or whatever, and the Amish buggies or whatever. But, gentlemen, how you doing today? Brian, you're taking a swig of water. I'll ask Zach first.
I'm doing well. Draft is coming right around the corner, and, we're just trying to get to that doomsday in the 11th hour, And once that point comes, then 3 days will pass. My life will go back to having no meeting until next April. So
no, you must do the way too early mock draft. You must do that where you predict that the Buccaneers win the Super Bowl again this year because they got all of their return. Yeah, strong pass from me, by the way. Brian, I'm feeling a little sassy. I'm feeling very sassy today because the draft is 2 days away, man. It's about damn time. How you doing, my friend?
I'm very sleepy.
Well, we'll try to keep you awake there, Grandpa.
I'm very sleepy because I was up working at 1:30 in the morning last night, so I'm very sleepy.
Oh, geez, man. Well, you're putting in the time, the extra man hours, and the sweat and everything else, and that's what we do here too at Steel City Underground. And we used to have a tagline. This was the podcast or the website for fans like you by fans like you, and now we're just the black and gold standard or whatever. The voiceover guy says in the beginning of this show, but we're actually today going to, this is it. This is the reason we don't start talking about draft. Like a lot of times we do a little bit like in February, the season's still going on and stuff, because by this time we would have said who our picks are multiple times over, and it probably would have changed. And you may be surprised even who I ended up going with. But before we get there, I had a question, Brian. I could almost guess Zach's going to be in here with me. So there was something that came up, and this was Christopher Carter, who you may have heard of, who works with DK Pittsburgh Sports. That's Dejan Kovacevic. Ooh, I said that. Rolls right off the tongue, right? And
better you than me. I couldn't say it.
Hey, at Carter Critiques, he's a good guy. I usually agree with a lot of Chris's takes, actually. Unlike a lot of people, not always the clickbait stuff. So a little shout out to him. He probably doesn't listen to us anyways. But if he does, Chris, say hello. He shared something from WebMD earlier in the day, and it was people who ate French fries or hash browns 2 to 3 times a week were more likely to die early, according to one study. Now, Brian, I got to know if you love the Spuds, man. Maybe you don't anymore. I know you're the big, lean warrior diet person now, but for me, man, French fries are life. In fact, I had to get an air fryer so I could eat them a little bit healthier. I'm not going to just dump them in a bunch of oil or anything like that, but I love the Spuds. Tater tots are my favorite if we're going to pick a particular fried potato. So what do you think, man? The host who doesn't like toast, doesn't like coffee, hates all breakfast foods. What do we think about
this? This is not true. I like scrambled eggs.
You do now. Were you drinking them raw like Rocky while you were doing all your weight loss
that's
stuff?
nasty crap. I'm not doing that.
I've done that before.
That's just ridiculous nonsense. I'm not going to drink no raw eggs. Ew.
Had to do what you had to do to put some meat on the frame, though, man.
Eat beef. I'll put some meat on your frame. Anyway, since you mocked me in my Lord of the Rings post that I put on Facebook the other day, I'm going to just say this: potato.
And mash and put them in a stew.
I don't have a problem with potatoes. I used to like the French fry. I would eat the French fry. I do not eat the fry that is made in France anymore, even though it's not French at all. I don't like. It's not that I don't like them. I do.
Oh, I get it.
I just won't eat them now.
Yeah, you got to be healthier. And Zach, the youngest of us all, you're probably eating like a horse. So
not as much as you would think anymore, but you know, I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy fries. They're not a staple of my diet, but I've never shied away from them. Let's put it that way. But you know, I've tried my best to be conscientious of it, but I love the Spud. There's no.
I'll tell you,
Addicted
the
to
kind
Spuds.
I like are the ones that have skin still on them, like the Chick-fil-A waffle fries. Love those things.
Yeah.
But we were up, I don't know where the hell we were, somewhere in New York over the weekend, and we weren't as far north as you, Zach. Otherwise, I would have let you know. But I was doing a hike. Anyway, we went to some restaurant called the Carriage House, which was in East Bum Beep, New York.
Binghamton. It was in Binghamton.
I don't know where it was. It's Berryville. Actually, I do know where it was. It was in Berryville, New York, sitting right on the border of Pennsylvania and New York. And we thought it was the scariest little dive. We thought it was going to be horrible. It was very good, and they had these awesome fries that I had to actually steal a couple off my wife's plate because they were those big, thick cut fries, and they had skin on them. They were really good. I ate two.
Wow. And actually,
yourself.
it's a little further. It's somewhere between Binghamton and Poughkeepsie. So, yeah, I wasn't too far off there. And so it is out there, man. But if you end up on the other side of the state, the Buffalo Wing is not a myth. That's the real deal.
I've been to Buffalo. I understand.
That really is. So, but anyways, it seems like you guys will outlive me according to this study that was shared, but I wanted to bring up fries and being fried or roasted because more than likely that's what's going to happen with our opinions here in a few moments. So it comes all around. I think we are now 4 minutes and 30 some seconds in, so somebody can make some smart ass comment in the comments section and let everybody know.
The show starts at 4 minutes and 53 seconds.
We try to wear the entertainers caps as well here. So anyhow,
I'm not mocking that guy, by the way. I'm just saying.
I don't even know who it was. It's just like, come
neither
on,
do
guys. It's just, if you don't like it, you can fast forward. It won't offend me. Just don't tell me. Then it does offend me. So anyways, none of us have really come out and straight out said who we believe. The Steelers are on the clock. Pick 24, first round. We'll go a little deeper maybe as
Mac Jones
times allows us.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
No, I'm pretty sure we have said who we don't want.
I forgot. I had a seizure. I'm sorry, brain seizure.
Yes, that's not a good. You should get that checked out. So,
yes.
Who we believe the first round pick would be for the Steelers, and everybody everywhere is just all over like a fly on stink with Najee Harris. Guys, you've convinced me that more than likely, and maybe it's not what I want to do, and I have some other picks I'll mention, but if that's the guy at 24, I'm settled on it. You've convinced me even through my own podcast in the past with either of you gentlemen or on my own that the risk, if you want one of the top three guys, you got to think at 55, at least two of them are gone, if not all three. We've kind of come to the conclusion that maybe the UNC guys, particularly Javonte Williams, might not be one of the guys on the Steelers' radar. We're thinking it's Najee Harris or it's Travis Etienne, your guy from Clemson. It sucks for me to say, but once they put on black and gold, then they're not Clemson or Alabama guys anymore. So I can put those feelings aside. I've done it for Devin Bush from that university up north. But if the pick is in Najee Harris, is that the right pick for the Steelers? I'm going to say that's what I believe that they will do.
Well, I don't tremendously disagree with you. I think through time, I believe that if Harris is there at 24, that is likely who they take. That's just the way I'm seeing it now. Especially if other things fall, there is a chance though that if he's gone and Etienne's gone and the tackle that they like isn't gone, I can see them, especially even the one you mocked, the trade to with Green Bay. I can see that happening, moving back 3-4 spots. So
that wasn't me, but it may have been the same pick though.
Yeah, I still think that it's very likely that it is Najee Harris.
I agree with the trade back notion there. I think Kevin Colbert's statements that he made in his press conference with Mike Tomlin the other day, I think really, they never shut the door on any opportunity, but I do think him making the statement that if they don't like what's there, they are more than open to trading back. I think they're aware of the fact that they probably have a lot of spots they'd love to fill. And if they're not going to just settle for a guy, especially in this year's, climate of knowing how guys are or not are, they're not going to just settle on the guy if they don't feel 100% confident in him, if they didn't get full access to seeing him at a pro day or via a Zoom call with Mike Tomlin. So in my mind, I do think it's Najee Harris or Kyle Trask. It's not going to be Kyle Trask.
Oh, come on. That's worse than Mac Jones.
In my gut has been telling me Najee Harris now for a while. I resisted it for a while, for that last month and a half. I think it's going to take some unforeseen player that we don't see falling, like a Christian Darrisaw or like a J.C. Horn type of player falling to 24, or even I dare say like a Justin Fields. I'm not saying I'm advocating for taking a quarterback, but I think that might make them think a little bit more. I think it's going to take someone like that truly falling to 24 for it not to be Harris, and I do think that it's going to be Harris, Etienne, or Williams in that order, depending on who's there. And I really would be surprised if they don't come out of that pick with a running back, because I just think no matter how you spin it, I'm obviously an offensive line guy. Brian's an offensive line guy. I think we all understand the importance of offensive line play, the notion that they can't get that later on. I think you're looking at the running back class as a whole. There are some interesting bodies, but the talent drop-off is incredible. And if it's not Harris, Etienne, or Williams, I think they're going to be back to square one with just drafting another Benny Snell, or drafting another Anthony McFarland, another Jalen Samuels, and we don't need another one of those. They already know what they have with those guys. So add a guy that could be a true 3-down playmaker for you and really kind of take the step to lead that room. And I think that's Najee Harris at this point.
Yeah. Let me tell you where I'm at with some of this too. And we've discussed this in the back rooms, openly on Twitter or on this show. The more quarterbacks that get taken, the more wide receivers that get taken. They're talking maybe not even a defensive player in the top 10, which is like unheard
First
of.
time ever. Yeah.
Right.
And, I mean, if that happens, that's great, because maybe 5, 6, 8 of them go by pick 20, and now you're looking right in the face of your pick of the litter for offense. And I mean, it's you got to say all the quarterbacks, 3 or 4 quarterbacks, potentially 5 quarterbacks. But I would say safely 3 or 4.
Make it so.
You got Trevor Lawrence, you got Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and then perhaps Mac Jones somewhere in there too. You still got all these other wide receivers, but you have Kyle Pitts in there, so you automatically have you should have 6 picks before 24. That's a quarter of the picks where these things start to slide in your direction. Now, what I would love to see happen personally is, let's see the Bengals go with an offensive lineman, because I don't want to see Kyle Pitts twice a year. I don't want to give Joe Burrow that type of help. That's a guy that could be a security blanket for him and a real, pain in the rear for the Steelers for years to come. Plus, I kind of want the Dolphins to kind of have to make a choice there and not take their offensive lineman at pick 6. I would rather that they have to say, okay, Kyle Pitts is here. Man, we can't pass on this. They take Pitts there. They just traded, and they traded Eric Flowers. They're going to move Robert Hunt over from tackle to guard. To me, that signifies my road grader that I preferred originally, my original mock draft. I wanted Tevin Jenkins. He's a right tackle. And there was some debate as to these mock draft simulators. I originally was able to massage this in such a way that I was still able to get Najee Harris at pick 55 in the second round. And then I believe I went it might have been Quinn Miners as a center, but I went somewhere in that direction with the 3rd round pick. Okay. I also did another mock where I was like, okay, this is totally unrealistic. They're going to have to grab Najee with the first pick, with their 1st round pick, and then boomerang back around to these other needs in the other rounds. I'm starting to kind of feel that, especially with the Dolphins' move earlier today. I feel like one of those 2 picks is going to be a tackle, and that's going to be off the board for the Steelers. But it may also be a good thing, because they're the name that's been most linked, I think, to Harris as an earlier pick ahead of the Steelers. The Jets, do they still concern me, man? If they're picking running back here, let's be honest, if they're picking 23 and they're picking running back. They have so many needs on this team. If the Steelers move back, you still get the Jaguars at 25 there. It depends how far they move back now. The scenario was the Packers at 29. The Browns don't need a running back. The Ravens certainly don't need a running back. If they did that, that would be one heck of a luxury for them. The Saints don't need a running back. The Packers obviously aren't moving up, having just done the deal with Aaron Jones either. The Bills might concern me. A lot of people, there's been smoke around the fire of the Buccaneers, and I think a lot of these mocks just haven't been updated with the fact that not only do they have Ronald Jones, they brought Leonard Fournette back. I don't see why they would need to do that with a first-round pick. But Jacksonville picks again at 33, and the Jets at 34, and the Dolphins at 36. That's the cluster right there. We're all talking about a lot of people, and Zach, you definitely, I think, have my back. No offense to you, Brian. You got my back on this too, but I'm going to go to Zach with this first, is all the don't take a running back in the first round. It's quite all right if it's pick 33 and it's in the second round, though, right?
Yeah, like you're looking at a team like the Jaguars, for example. Obviously, I don't think that they're taking a running back necessarily with James Robinson, but you're telling me a team that has all those holes, they're drafting 33rd, they're taking a running back. That's okay because it's the second round. The only difference there is the fifth-year option. That's really the only difference there, which is why a lot of teams try to get up to that point, because you're going to there's always going to be guys at the top of the first round that really were at the top of the second round, that really should have been first round picks that are still sitting there, and like in my mind, I think a lot of fans think this, and we've had this conversation before. A lot of fans think that 1 to 32 is a first round grade, 32 to 64 is a second, or 33 to 64 is a second round grade. That's not how the league does their big boards. I don't know of a single team in the league that has 32 first round grades on players, and that's a firm, rigid list. There's typically like 20 to 25 maybe, and sometimes 25 is if it's a truly elite class. Most of the time, that pick from 20 to 45, sometimes even 50. That's why you see some of these guys like Rashad Penny, for example. Like Rashad Penny, I don't think anybody had pegging him going the first round to the Seahawks a couple years ago. The Seahawks were high on him, and he probably could have fallen to the 40s. Maybe he makes to the Seahawks' next pick. The Seahawks valued him, and at that point, like, boards start getting so tossed up. If you look at most teams' boards in the first 10, 15 prospects, they're going to be somewhat similar. But like beyond that point, like those next ranges of players, like you're going to have guys that go everywhere. Terrell Edmonds, he'd be there in the fourth round. Hell, he might have been undrafted if you ask some people. He was he was a range of player that was going to go in the next couple picks, probably at the top of the second round. The Steelers are picking 28. In my mind, the only difference between pick 28 and pick 35, other than 7 different slots, is the fact that you have a fifth-year option. You now have control of his contract for 5 years if you so choose to do so. It's the same thing with Najee Harris. Najee Harris goes at 24, or he goes at the top of the second. Who cares? It's the same thing. There's no difference there,
It's not pick 3 overall.
No,
so that's where I backed off. Yeah, that's where I backed off my position, because between 24 and 55, it was the same idea. Like you just said, oh God, why'd you bring up Edmonds of all people for this example?
I figured it was fresh on your mind, Joe.
Oh, it is. I'm getting graded for it all the time. But some people had said that he was going to creep into the first round. Right around draft day, it was Schefter or
it was actually Jason Luck-and-Forna who.
Yeah,
I don't particularly put a lot of grain of salt with his stuff, but there were a handful of teams that after the fact, and I got, you always see some glimpse of teams' boards. There were more than a handful of teams that had a first round grade on him that thought he would go on the first night of the draft, and there were plenty of teams that I know were at the top of the next round in the second round that were willing to take a flyer and probably were looking at taking a flyer on him at the top of the second just because of those athletic traits when he was able to put on film at Virginia Tech.
Well, if you we've always looked at those charts for trading picks and stuff. Not all first-round picks are created equal. The Steelers are not moving up into the first top 10, or they're definitely not going to move into the top 5, top 6, or top 8 or anything. They would need a tremendous amount of capital, draft capital, to be able to do something like that. With pick 24, doesn't carry the same weight necessarily, but also to the argument of, well, don't take running backs in the first round. You got guys like Nick Chubb that are like, pick 33 or something like that. You know what I mean? Jonathan Taylor isn't too far off from that, and there's others. So it sounds like I'm backpedaled, but yeah, I really gave this some thought. Najee is my pick right now. Brian, you got some more talk on the running back stuff, or I've given you Najee Harris, and I said Tevin Jenkins, but I think Tevin Jenkins could be gone, and more than likely, even if he isn't, and the Steelers go with Najee Harris, there's a chance that Jenkins ends up with the Ravens or something silly like the Ravens are going to end up with one or two of the guys that we always like, just like J.K. Dobbins last year, second-round pick at 55.
Absolutely. I do think that there's a better chance that because the tackle depth in this draft is greater than any of the other offensive line positions, that they will dip their toe in it at some point for sure. It will not surprise me if they just don't, unless one of the prime candidates falls to them at 24. I don't know. I don't know that they're going to pull the trigger on it. I think that they're very happy with where they stand right now. Do I think that they are thinking that they've got 2 Pro Bowl tackles? No, but they also have never valued the tackle position nearly as much as other teams have. So, I just don't know. Would I like to see them invest in a tackle? Yes, I would like to see them invest in a tackle. But that doesn't, as some sports personalities out there have said, Mike Tomlin don't give a crud what we think. And neither does Kevin Colbert.
None of them do.
Yeah, they don't. None of them care.
But he said Art Rooney's the boss, though. Did you catch that?
Art is the boss. There's no question about that. But, that's the thing. So I'd love for them to be able to get the right guy if he falls. And Zach, not to mock your sometimes employer or current employer or partial employer, but what the hell is the deal with the PFF draft thing? Penei Sewell dropped to 24, and I didn't do anything. I'm drafted Travis Etienne in the 5th round. What kind of crazy nonsense is this? Those people are on drugs. Their simulator is whack, yo.
Oh, they did it on NFL Network earlier, and it was doing some of that. They made some adjustments, and it's out there. People are making crazy trades, but oh man,
unless Etienne has a gas mask right before the draft that we don't know about, he's not going to be there in the 5th round, right?
Yeah, well, we need to do that. By the way, can we put some feelers out there?
Yeah, we need some Photoshop work done with the nice bong or something. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. I just think there's a good chance that if the running backs aren't there that they want, if somehow, the prophecy that the guy who commented on one of our earlier shows who says 5 running backs are going in the 1st round, if that bizarre prophecy were to come true and the top 3 are gone at 24, I can't believe it would happen. But if it did, it won't surprise me if they don't go tackle.
Are you still going to hold up to your end of the deal if that happens, though, Brian? I remember you making a statement about.
I'm doing the podcast naked if 5 running backs go in the 1st round.
Okay,
5 running backs go in the 1st round. See, I can do the podcast naked because you can't see this part.
That's a little too much for my. Just don't do that, please.
Then I'll threaten to stand up. I'll do stuff like this.
It's all for the ratings.
I feel like I got to stand up.
Please,
all for the ratings, Joe.
Man, he's shorter than I thought. Anyway, I was looking at
6 foot.
well, who's your pick then at number 1? I gave you 2 of them. I'm saving the other one because I have this gut feeling now. I have 2 guys I like for the 2nd round, so I'm saving one of the other ones that I mocked. But Brian, you're on the clock at 24 here. I actually just ran one on PFF, by the way, and there's some names here on the board that quite interesting.
Fine, give me my choices.
Well, you can have. I think you can have any choice that you really want for the most part. Jeremiah Owasu Koromora. Almost said it right.
I don't want him because I can't say his name.
He's there. Greg Newsome, the second's there. Elijah Moore is their wide receiver, Mississippi. I should for the audience here elaborate. Jason Owe from Penn State, edge rusher. Walker Little, tackle, Stanford. Who Zach, I'm pretty sure that we've written that one off as a fit with the Steelers. I believe.
Yeah. Colbert has said enough about the whole playing. Opting out. I mean, he hasn't played in 2 years. Yeah, he's a fine talent, but I'd be shocked if he's there.
Terrace Marshall Jr., wide receiver, LSU. Asante Samuel Jr., cornerback.
My pick is Najee Harris.
Your pick is Najee Harris. Okay, finally. But in the PFF thing, he's down here this is the reason.
I know he's there
he's
on
not
PFF
even on the
because
first
he doesn't
page.
go until the 2nd round at PFF all the time. They got him at 60-something.
Yes, I'm down to 63, and he's at 65.
Yeah.
So
my pick is Najee Harris. If I'm on the PFF draft board and I know he's there, that's my pick. I'm just telling you. And I think I do honestly think if he's on the board, that's who the Steelers take. So that's my pick.
So, okay. So your pick is Najee Harris. My pick is Najee Harris because I just don't believe that the tackle, and we've said that Jenkins, I don't know, Jenkins would have fallen not quite in the same category of visits, interviews, and everything else, right, Zach? As far
Correct.
as your tracker knowledge here.
Correct.
So, I'm thinking, man, he could be gone, or he's going to be gone shortly thereafter. Maybe they're locked in on Harris, which is where all the smoke to the fire is right now. So, you're on the hot seat now with the fire. Is your pick also Harris?
That's
or
Harris.
It's Harris, even though you're a Clemson guy. You don't want
No,
Etienne.
I think that I'm not going to sit there and say they're going to settle, because if I had to assume, if I was in the Steelers war room, if I was in the Bill Nunn, war room, it's a mouthful. I would assume that they're probably going to have Najee Harris and Travis Etienne very closely ranked, and they're not going to feel as though they're settling for one over the other. So Najee Harris is my guy. I mean, if you look at my big board, I have Travis Etienne as my number one running back, but I don't go based off of what I would do. I go based on what I think they will do, and I think they're going to go Najee Harris to be sitting there.
Our consensus, I guess, amongst all of us, including myself and Zach, who weren't the first-round running back guys at the start of this process, I'm there, Najee Harris. Now, there are some people that are saying, if you want to improve the Steelers' run game, everybody's saying you have to go running back. They're pretty much thinking a running back is the instant fix. That's not necessarily true. They're still going to have to do some work on the offensive line. I'm not going to be disappointed if there's an offensive lineman. I think the pitchforks and torches will come out if Najee Harris isn't the pick. But I think a lot of people are getting the grand illusions of Derrick Henry. If he ends up being Derrick Henry, then so be it. That would be fantastic for the Steelers. But I do agree. One train of thought here is that the Steelers, you have to do something different than going for middle-round guys. We can name a bunch of middle-round guys, and I have, that have been good, and name a bunch of first and second round guys and early picks that haven't been good, and then you could flip it and it could be the other way around as well. But again, we're not talking about going after CMC with the 7th overall, Saquon and Zeke 3rd, 4th overall picks here. 24 is toward the bottom of the first round. It's in a completely different tier that's pretty much adjacent with the top of the second round. So now I got to start thinking, if we're doing running back, now I think it opens everything up too. You're not leaving it to chance. Will Najee get there to 55 like I originally thought with this one, ranked 65th overall here on Pro Football Focus? I'm going to take him anyways just to see what else ends up happening here. A-. Wow, they like me. I had to do a new mock draft anyways because I only did 2 rounds. But anyhow, Najee Harris. So now what are you doing in the second round? Okay. I've got my 2 guys on the wish list here, and I've been told that neither of them will be there at 55. I think one of them could be. Number one here is, and I still think they might go tackle. All right, neither of these guys is a tackle. Creed Humphrey, center. I really feel for some reason for me, it's almost like it came to me in a vision, in a dream, that this is like Stephon Tuitt or Chase Claypool being there in round 2. And going to turn out to be another great second-round pick. Although in the third round, I still think there may be someone there. Perhaps even Creed Humphrey himself still. But for some reason, I'm starting to get a vibe. And you could tell me I'm crazy. You think Asante...
You're crazy.
Well, we already knew that. Asante Samuel Jr., you think he's going to go in the first round, or do you think he's going to hang around in the second? And could he land there at 55? Because if he does, I think that's where I'd be going with the pick personally.
If he's sitting there at 55, that pick will be in about 30 seconds, in my opinion. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they pick him in the first round. I mean, he's the only thing that really is stopping him, I think, from being considered in that top tier with Patrick Surtain, with Greg Newsome second, with J.C. Horns. The fact he's 5'10", and that's going to look poorly on him, even though the tape speaks for himself, and we've seen guys in the 5'9", the 5'11" range have plenty of success in the NFL. The dude's a baller, and the Steelers love their pedigree. He's an underclassman with elite athletic traits. He literally, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, I think more than Najee Harris, if I had to pick one person after the 3 nights of the draft to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, it would be Asante Samuel. I don't even care about the whole picture of him and Mike Tomlin chatting it up at Florida State's pro day. If he's there at 55, all offensive line needs go to the wayside as far as I'm concerned, and I think he's the pick. And that's just my personal, humble opinion. That means absolutely nothing.
It means a lot, Zach. Don't think it doesn't. It means a lot.
Hey, just to interject, that was my, if I go defense first round, that was my choice, by the way, in the other mock.
Yeah, and I actually agree with that. I think that, I didn't come out and say it because I still think Najee Harris will be there, and I think that they'll take him. But if Najee's gone, if the tackles aren't the ones that they want, Asante Samuel Jr. could absolutely be your 24th pick, and I'd be fine with that. If I'm also in the mindset that he won't be there at 55, and if he is, then they sprint to the podium. It will be the fastest pick is in that we have seen from the Steelers in history. I believe that.
Agreed.
But if he's not there, which I don't think he will be, then I kind of lean towards what you think, Joe. Except I've fallen out of love with Creed Humphrey. I wasn't really in love with Creed Humphrey. I mean, I like Creed Humphrey, but I don't know why, and maybe I can blame Leanne Lohman for this. I don't know, but I've been watching Landon Dickerson, and that's the guy I want now. I get it. I know the injury history. I understand. I don't know why, but watching that guy toss little teeny tiny guys around who aren't little teeny tiny guys, that just screams Steeler to me. It just screams Steeler to me. Yes, the knee things worry me. They worry me considerable. And while I don't believe the Steelers will pick him, I think that they might pick Creed Humphreys instead of him because I don't know that they can trust the medicals without having their actual doctor see the guy. And maybe that causes him to slide even further. And they get Asante Samuel here and Landon Dickerson in the third. Maybe. I'm okay with that too.
That's where I'm leaning, man. That's where I was leaning.
But that's the center that I find myself coveting right now. Doesn't mean there are other guys and I'll be happy with several different centers that are in this draft, especially in the second and third rounds. But that's the guy that I want. So there you go.
I think from a talent perspective, man, I know when you, me, and Leanne were on there. I think talent-wise, he's better than Creed Humphrey. I think the reason I believe Creed Humphrey will go before him is because he's just durable, and I think you're looking at a likely 10-year plus starting center in the NFL. I don't think he's ever going to be, a Travis Frederick or a Marquise Pouncey or a Nick Mangold or Dermontti Dawson, but he's going to be a guy that you see maybe on two teams over the course of his career, gets some money, plays a long career, makes a couple Pro Bowls, and then retires quietly into the sunset. I think he's that type of player. I think if Landon Dickerson is healthy, he has higher potential and upside because he's played all across the offensive line. You can put him anywhere in a pinch. You don't see 6'6" centers very often, which could be a good thing or a bad thing depending on, going up against a 6'1" Aaron Donald type across from you. But talent-wise, he's the best center in this class. I don't trust the knee. And obviously teams have access to all the medicals, and maybe he's checked out wonderfully over this pre-draft process and teams aren't going to be afraid of him, and he actually sneaks in the first round because he's a first-round talent, but he's not a first-round prospect because there's more than just the talent. There's everything else that goes into it. The medicals are going to scare a lot of teams off, in my opinion.
No, you hit the nail on the head. Brian Baldy really, really loves Landon Dickerson. He's the top center for him. I'm thinking even I wouldn't be opposed to that second round, but obviously once you get out of the top two rounds, I don't know what corners the Steelers could possibly look at, or even draft for that matter. I think that's almost completely off the board for them based on who's visited, who they've seen. Now,
Avery Williams, I believe, from Boise State is the only corner I've seen really connected to them at all.
And will he even be drafted outside of those guys? Like
anywhere from 5th to undrafted would be my guess for his range.
Yep. And here's the thing too. I got to bring this up because I didn't while you guys were talking. But I went back. Like you had the quarterback. You had the quarterback heavy draft. In 2018 here. So if you have the same type of top heaviness, there were 3 first-round corners: Denzel Ward, Jair Alexander, Mike Hughes. And then you get into the second round, and before 55, you had about 6. So I'm saying within that. Now you get back into 2019, and there was only DeAndre Baker taken in the first round by the Giants at 30th overall when it came to the corners. And I don't think there's anybody that's just listed DB here. Good, because I hate when they do that. You go looking on NFL.com and then they just have a guy listed DB and you miss somebody. So my apologies if somebody gets left off here. I'm going off of Wikipedia's list, okay? Blame them. But here you go, Byron Murphy. Remember that? That was a popular name that we liked. Pick 33, right there at the top of the second. So you had a handful of guys, second round, almost all exclusively 30 through the 40s here, all second round picks. You could have a similar run like that. That's pretty much what happened last season. Also, the 2020 draft corners, I think we had 8 of them go. Let's see, 6 in the first round, which that's going to be
6.
tough. I think. Yeah, I don't think this draft just based on quarterbacks. And by the way, this mock that I just had, Asante Samuel was just gone to the Cowboys because the Cowboys somehow got Kyle Pitts at pick 10 in this PFF simulation. I don't know if I see that happening, but
whack. It's whack. The PFF
whack.
simulator is whack, yo.
Yeah,
whack.
But I think all the centers are actually here, by the way. I know I saw Dickerson here. I got to look interior offensive line. Actually, they are all here. We didn't mention Quinn Miners yet. I think he could be maybe a third-round target. I know there's some other guys that both of you like as well, so I won't steal your thunder. But I'm just looking at strictly like, how big, how deep is the corner class that maybe some of the guys that you feel you can't have 60 players with a first-round grade, as we continue to say. Will one of these guys end up being there? Where's Samuel as far as, and I take this with a grain of salt, but I kind of use it as my benchmark too in some cases. So Samuel is listed. Let's see. We have Patrick Surtain, J.C. Horn, Greg Newsome, Caleb Farley, yet another guy. 2 back surgeries. We don't know where he's going to end up landing. Tyson Campbell, Eric Stokes. Oh, the kid from Syracuse, Milanafu, Aaron Robinson, Calvin Joseph, Robert Rochelle, Elijah Molden, and then Asante Samuel Jr., according to the NFL.com draft tracker. He's somewhere down there like at 10 or 12 or something if I were to count these out. It's not the same as the pro draft board. Somebody might like him in their top 5. So I'm not necessarily saying that, but you start to get into running the probabilities. Go ahead, Brian. He might be there and he might not.
I'm just telling you, I just ran a PFF simulation. At 24, here's what's on the board.
Okay.
Penei Sewell, Kyle Pitts, Devonta Smith, Rashawn Slater.
No, all those guys should be gone.
Yeah, Christian Barrymore. All of them still there.
But
at 24.
What kind of settings do you have on this thing? See,
I didn't touch them.
See,
it's
mine
just
has
whatever the default settings are.
It's a little lower on care for positional value, a little lower on randomness. I go more heavy on draft for needs, public versus PFF board. I think that's where it gets really
This is even the
dirty.
stupider part. You're sitting at 24. Penei Sewell, Kyle Pitts, and Devonta Smith are there, and nobody wants to trade with me.
I'm answering every single phone call and taking every first-round pick they're willing to throw at me. One of those
And
guys.
then I'm moving back 2 spots and getting
2 spots and still
ridiculous.
getting one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so stupid. Anyway, I'm sorry. I had to interject that because it was annoying me.
Yeah, but anyways, that was just my thought of the Steelers. It's all been all the chatter's been offense. We saw it back when it was Artie Burns, Sean Davis, Javon Hargrave. One first, second, and third round, all defense when defense was the need. Do the Steelers go all 3 with offense when they have a need at corner? So that's kind of where I'm headed. I'm not necessarily saying me personally if Asante Samuel's there. Well, we all said run up to the podium, of course. I think he's a great fit. Now you've got running back and corner, and you're going to go third round. You don't have any offensive linemen now. Now you've got all of the smart fans saying Harris is a wasted pick. Why are you going defense? This, that, and the other thing. So,
Joe, the draft's only 2 rounds long.
Oh, that's right. Well, we're done. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Do that anyways. But yeah, I know. I only did 4 rounds out. I did 1-7, 4 rounds. It's like once you start getting a little later, man, it's more of a crapshoot this year than usual. Who could be there? We've speculated. Could Landon Dickerson, Creed Humphrey, or Quinn Miners be the top? They're considered the top three. I know people put in Billy Myers from Ohio State. I don't know if I've seen that link, but there's a few funny things here. Tomlin and Colbert like their Ohio State players. We know that. They like their big, Power 5 perennial, they're guys with pedigree, right? But he also made a comment about the Big Ten and Pac-12 not really having a season, being delayed, getting started late, things of that nature, and maybe passing on guys that opted out too. So I think that kind of factors in. I don't know where that leaves Myers. I know you still got some center picks here, but round 3 for me, if they don't have a center yet, yeah, okay. Any of those guys sounds like a fantastic value for a third rounder. And as I said, about 3 centers in the top 100 is been the trend. You could go, +1 here or there depending on the class for that year. Colbert did say the center class was deep, but it's a little different than what we've been saying. We've been saying not as a first set of first round picks, but somebody you can get deeper into the draft is the way I read into that. But for me, my sleeper guy here, if it isn't one of these names we've already named, maybe, because I don't know how much further he could fall. He's one of the top tight ends. Where does Tommy Tremble from Notre Dame come into this? You get a blocking tight end, and if you're going to complain that, they still didn't address offensive line, well, yeah, they did. They kind of, they brought B.J. Finney back. They brought Zach Banner back. They're going to draft some guys maybe a little later. They're saying that this is a deeper draft, especially with tackles. Maybe one of the other centers is still there that you guys can mention here in a moment. But I'm throwing that out there just as a dark horse candidate. I don't know if he'll make it to pick 87. But if you got that guy out there setting the edge too as a blocking tight end, which is admittedly that's not Eric Ebron's strength. He's a receiving guy. You don't have a whole lot of guys who come out of college that are just blocking tight ends. That's why the blocking tight ends that are out there, like a Darren Fells, for example, or Nick Boyle or some of these guys, they get paid the money they do. It's because they do some of the dirty work, especially in the running game. And I think that will still help the running game, particularly if you already got Najee Harris. I mean, geez, you could pair that in there. And then look, you didn't have Ebron necessarily as a blocker. Vance McDonald, when he's out there playing half the snaps, dinged up sometimes. Are you going to count on Kevin Reiter? I think they will look tight end at some point. I think that's just something to consider. Still, if we've already gone, like, let's say Harris and Samuel, then give me one of the centers that are on the board for sure. And then whatever happens at tight end, so be it. So, Brian, I'll kick it over to you. I've been kicking it to Zach a lot with the first opinions here. What are we thinking maybe third round and beyond here?
I don't hate the Tommy Tremble thing in the third, but my feeling is if we don't have the center position locked up in the second round, that it's probably where we fall. Who's going to be there is a good question, and I don't know that I know the answer to that question. You know what I mean? Because things are just kind of all over the place. And once we get there, it could be the guy from Ohio State, the center from Ohio State. It could be, what was the one guy? One guy you were talking about. I can't remember what his name is.
Quinn Miners from Wisconsin.
Yes, Quinn Miners. Both, either or could be higher. Quinn Miners should be gone. You could even see, I mean, you never know. I mean, the wrong mood strikes people. Creed Humphreys could still be there. Unlikely, but it's possible. I know that, Zach, you've talked to me about this in the past, and I also, I've watched the kid. I like Trey Hill, the center in Georgia. I don't think he'd be there in the fourth. So if they want him, they may have to take him in the third. But I don't know that I've seen anything. Were they at his pro day or the pro day for Georgia? I don't remember hearing that.
I thought they were at Georgia, but maybe I'm misremembering that.
Doesn't he kind of go against? I got to look him up again, but being banged up or having the injury or time off as well. But we're talking in later rounds too, so a little bit less risk.
That stuff starts to go away. I mean,
they were at Georgia, by the way.
Okay, so he's a possibility. I would tell you that the way I view this is if they don't have center in the second round, then I think Josh Myers becomes a possibility here for no better reason than they have a history with Ohio State. Is he my favorite center in this draft? No, he's not. I'm being honest. But
No,
even as a
the other
Buckeye,
three
he's
guys.
not. I think he could develop. Maybe he's going to be serviceable. Maybe he's going to be Billy Price. I don't know. So, but that's, I don't know. I kind of lean that direction because I don't know what else they have that they can target in that round. Maybe a tackle. Depends on who's left and who's not. But again, I think it's more likely that the center is a more important position right now. So.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a few other names that have surfaced here. I think they talked to Brandon Kennedy from Tennessee. It's kind of funny going through this because Trey Hill, Lance Zerline, who does the work here for NFL.com and he's the draft analyst, has him projected as a priority free agent. Trey Hill, that is, and the same with Kennedy from Tennessee. There's another gentleman that gets mocked a lot to the Steelers and listed as a guard, but has some playing time as a center, and that is Kendrick Green from Illinois.
Love him.
Please tell us. Now, I didn't get your third round pick yet, so you have the floor, my friend. But I was just putting the bug in your ear too, so we don't forget to mention Kendrick Green.
Yeah, and I'll backtrack here because I didn't give my actual pick for the second. I don't think Asante Samuel's there. No, you're fine. No, I don't think Asante Samuel is there. I don't think they draft him there. I do think they go offensive line, and I do think they actually try to get one of the tackles. I know that goes kind of against what you guys are both saying. There's three guys that come to mind there that I think they would go. One of them makes sense. The other two are kind of going against trends of theirs in recent years, but I'm going to go with a dark horse guy here and say if Alex Leatherwood would be sitting there. I don't know if they would double dip Bama and Bama, but I know the Steelers love their flexibility, and they love the guys that can do both. And I think Alex Leatherwood is one of the best zone blocking offensive linemen in this draft class, regardless of his lack of power. He doesn't have Tevin Jenkins' power. He's not going to be confused with a guy that's going to be just burying dudes 17 yards down the field. But he seals off backside blocks better than just about any other lineman in this class, as far as I'm concerned. And his footwork is unparalleled, and he can play both guard and tackle. I think he kind of fits a lot of hats there. He's kind of my dark horse guy. I could see him sneaking up there, but I don't really know if teams are going to be as high on him as they are because he doesn't fit that overwhelming prototypical mold of like a Jalen Mayfield, who I'm much lower on at this point than I used to be. And, Tevin Jenkins and guys like that. My other two guys are Dylan Radins. I'm always going to butcher it.
Pam.
And Spencer Brown. Those are my two dark horse candidates because I think they'd be more willing to wait. I don't think they're going to draft a guard. I think they'd be more inclined to wait for center because if Dickerson and Humphrey are there, I think it'd be as much as they love Quinn Miners, I think it'd be extraordinarily out of context and trend and who they are to draft the Division III offensive lineman in the second round. Now, I don't care. I think the whole D3 thing is, overdone. I think if you can play football, you can play football. And Quinn Miners has proven at a high level at Division III and at the Senior Bowl and throughout the process he can compete with the big boys. I just think it'd be against the Steelers' trend and history of going that small of school. The second round has always been a Power 5 round from them. That's why I'm inclined not even to say Radins or Brown because they're not Power 5 guys, but I think they like their upside, and I think they can afford to take a guy like that in the second round that's a top tackle that also still has the traits that they would like, or a guy like Liam Eichenberg. Maybe Liam Eichenberg makes more sense in that round as well. But with that being said, now you have a running back in the first round, you have a tackle in the second round, because I will be surprised. I think it's going to take Landon Dickerson or Creed Humphrey to be sitting there in the second round for them to take them. Otherwise, I don't think they go center in the second round. I think in the third round, you're looking at some of those next wave of guys where maybe they go corner. I don't know what corners are going to be there that they have interest. Maybe there's someone behind the scenes that we haven't seen leaked. But the further back you push corner, it's going to really come down to Sean Wade, out of Ohio State. I don't know if I like him in the third round. I'm not that high on him. I think he's a very hit and miss dude, and I've seen enough of the Steelers going and taking mid-round corners that are hit and miss and end up more often than not missing, with the exception of Cam Sutton. So I really think that maybe they go O-line. Now, do I think the Steelers go running back, O-line? No. I think there's a defensive pick in there somewhere, and it's probably some guy that we never even knew was connected to the team, or it's another Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, who met with them for 5 minutes over Starbucks coffee one day, and we had no idea about it, So in my mind, that center position, a guy like Kendrick Green, who, I don't know if there's any there, but like he's undersized. That's going to push him down draft boards. But if you care about the talent, if you're looking for an athletic center, the Steelers love pulling their centers. They have since Dermontti Dawson, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. You're coming off of Marquise Pouncey, who was an athletic center and could pull. Kendrick Green gives you that ability. I mean, he's 6'2", 305. He's not a massive guy, but he can pull. He's athletic. He's a very good zone blocker. He's very good at climbing to the second level and sealing guys off. And I don't know if it's going to be Pittsburgh, but any team that drafts him is getting a very good upside player that's kind of slid through the cracks in terms of centers go. And I do think that, I know a lot of people are up and down on Trey Hill. I saw that with Lance Zierlein saying he's an undrafted priority free agent. I've seen guys have him go as high as the third round. I think this past season hurt his stock tremendously because his 2019 season was incredibly better. But I think you're just looking at the overall talent. He's a very big body. He works well in a booth, and he's a mauler. I think he's really going to give you that oomph on the inside between whoever the guards are, the Castro, Dotson, Finney, whomever. I think he would be a very good pick, probably not in the third round. So in the third round, if I had to guess, it would be a center of one of the guys that's sitting there. If not, maybe they pull the trigger on a defensive back there. I don't envision them going offensive line back to back, and I don't envision them going offense for the first 3 picks. I think there's a defensive pick in there somewhere. Hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see running back, offensive line. That would be my absolute dream, and I might not even watch another round of the draft because I'm satisfied. But I'll be curious to see, but my gut would be they're going to hold off on center. I'm not trying to read too much into what Colbert said about the centers, but I do agree that if you can't get one of the top guys, there's no point in pulling the trigger, because I really don't think there's going to be that much of a difference between a guy like Myers and a guy like Green or Hill. I really think they're going to be pretty much pick your guy. If you like him, then take him. That could be anywhere between the third round and the sixth round. I don't think they wait that long to take a center, because I don't think they want BJ Finney to be their dude. But my point remains that I think the drop off in this center class is really not that big. I don't think there's a clear cut elite talent in the room, or prospect, I should say.
Yeah.
But I think there's enough guys there that you can hold off if you don't get one of them. If you don't get that, so Miners potentially in the second round. I just think that's extremely out of character. So I really think they go elsewhere in the second, and third round is kind of a free for all for me.
No, man, you pretty much said it all. I got a couple rapid-fire questions as we jump around right there. I left the meat on the bone for the tackles for you on purpose, because they've talked to guys that could go anywhere in any round. And defense, is really up in the air. They talked to they seem to be most linked with a Virginia Tech safety by the name of Divine Diablo.
Like him a lot.
Yeah, and where does he go? He's mid-round guy, right?
I will tell you, on my big board, I'm actually looking at it right now. Okay. I have him. He's actually my 89th ranked prospect. I'm probably higher on him than a lot of guys are.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I mean, a round 4 pick, hey, you never know. Yep. We're going to have to see what they do. How do you replace Mike Hilton? How'd you get Mike Hilton? Undrafted guy to begin with. So
yeah,
you got your outside corners, presumably with Sutton and Hayden, and hopefully your top backup with Justin Lane, perhaps even James Pierre. So we may put too much stock into that, and then again, maybe we don't, because maybe they need Sutton to replace or fill in some of Hilton's old role. That doesn't mean the rookie, like Asante Samuel, for example, is going to jump right in. He could. That doesn't really speak to the Steelers' MO, and Joe Hayden's, 32 years old now and entering the final year of a contract as well. So, they got to be thinking ahead, maybe thinking ahead there. We all thought Justin Lane was a great value, but you make the great points with Sean Wade as well, and I don't want to trash any players. There's been enough talk of what's happened with the national title game postseason with Wade and a decline there. So there's some red flags that go up with that. I think as far as offensive line, we've already agreed they're going to at least double dip. But if there's any positions that they double dip, if we expand that a little bit, tackle appears to be something where they may go back to, the 2012 draft class. You had David DeCastro, then there was Mike Adams and Kelvin Beachum, 3 offensive linemen, triple dip but double at the tackle positions. I think we've all agreed on that with their 8 picks. Tight end could really be a crapshoot. They got some guys that are some late round kind of flyers in here as well. So Trey McKitty is a guy that I have mocked out of Georgia. Tough to say where he might go, more of a receiving threat. I think quarterback is out. No matter what Ed Bouchette wants to say, that the Steelers organization, he's quoted as saying some in the organization fancy Kyle Trask. And Andrew Filipponi, of course, says the same. So this immediately just shoots the opinion out of the water.
It's completely pointless now.
I heard a rumor as well. I heard there's approximately 95 to 175 players that the Steelers like and may draft on Thursday through Saturday, but I'm not sure. Those are mixed reports,
Remember me saying in the back rooms, apparently NFL Network said that the 49ers did their homework and they spoke to over 600 players. I'm like, there's not even 600 guys.
They spoke to me.
Hey,
there you go.
They called me too. Hey, what's your interest in doing?
I'm offended.
Jimmy G can't stay healthy. We just need some backup.
It's ageism. Damn it! They didn't call me. That's just some ageist bullcrap.
But they were also saying this opinion that they had Trask is ahead of at least one of the perceived top 5.
I heard it was Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, well, it could be. Who even knows?
I heard he was actually higher ranked than Peyton Manning was as well. I'm not sure.
Very important detail came out today, too. The Jaguars have narrowed their focus to 3 guys. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Justin Fields. It's like
Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence.
It is like the Almighty has shined a light on me and is speaking to me with that information. It was just such a revelation. Angels were, playing the harps from heaven and everything. I was just like, are you kidding me? I mean, you can't get any more. We could have told you that like 2 months ago. So
I hope he screws it up and he takes Mac Jones first overall. That would be
that'd be the Baker Mayfield pick from the Browns.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're still seeing how that might work out, right? So anyways, I had maybe one more bonus in here. I was trying to see. It's tough to say what they're going to do defensively. I don't know about defensive tackle. That could always be like the late round flyers that we've seen, edge rushers and line. Should take at least one linebacker. That's what we usually come to expect. They usually have anywhere from 8 to 10 on the roster. Wide receiver. This is my final question here because there might be somebody who sneaks in here. We don't know where like Amari Rogers from Clemson or Anthony Schwartz from Auburn, like one of these guys maybe in the middle rounds falls in there somewhere or late. They've got 5-6 guys on the roster right now, at least a solid 4 with your core group of Juju, James Washington, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. You still got Ray McLeod. I mean, I don't know where there's room to even this is one of the years where you could say, well, let's take a tackle instead of a flyer or maybe on a wide receiver, but I guess it depends on the talent that's available. So just some parting thoughts on what you think. Those are my final thoughts on the Steelers draft there. Brian, go right ahead, my friend. I know you're going to be getting sleepy here. It's
I'm very tired, Joe. I'm very sleepy now.
I'm tired of seeing mock drafts.
I got to rest because we got to step way past my bedtime on Thursday and stuff.
Friday will be longer.
And Friday will be longer, but I don't have to get up on Saturday. So, well, that's not true. I get up and go to the gym. So anyway, I'll be stunned if they don't draft a wide receiver at some point because they always draft a wide receiver at some point. Yep. Yeah, I'd be stunned if they didn't draft a wide receiver, and I'll be sort of stunned if it's not Anthony Schwartz just because of how much attention they paid to him later in the draft. But I agree with Zach. I don't think D tackle is on their radar for this draft. There will be a linebacker mixed in there someplace, probably an edge guy and maybe another guy who ends up being a special teams guy, but could maybe fill in at linebacker. Who knows? But that's, and when you get to the 7th round, I just don't care.
I still want to see what they do, but then I'm like, oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I trust a great pick, Colin Holba.
Long snappers are people, too.
Yes, they are. They all have feelings. I don't think they're going to draft one in the rest of Kevin Colbert's career as a
probably
as a
not. I
general
think they learned. Hey, but you got what's his face, Cam Kennedy. You got him.
Okay, yeah, they're people. What's that guy's name? What's his face? Who's it? What's it?
No, I agree with Brian. The Steelers are synonymous with drafting wide receivers, and I think there's 3 drafts Colbert hasn't drafted a receiver. And I do think that even though the room has a lot of guys in there now, if you can improve the room, especially because, again, like, who knows if Juju gets a long-term deal. I don't think they re-sign James Washington. All of a sudden you go from 4 to 6, and now, or 6 to 4, excuse me, and all of a sudden now you're looking for new bodies anyway. So get a guy in the system now, have him learn under a low-pressure situation. Tackle wouldn't surprise me, double dip. I don't think they double dip at center. I think if anything, they take a center this year and then take another center next year. I think that's probably the more realistic situation, or just an interior guy who can do both center and guard for DeCastro. Dan Moore, again, I read the tea leaves. There's always like 3 dudes they meet with that are highly publicized within the Steelers world that they end up taking late round flyers on. And I didn't know who Dan Moore was before, but I've done my research on him, and he's the stereotypical late round developmental offensive lineman for the Steelers, where he sits on the practice squad maybe for a year, he comes out and he develops a little bit. He's got a nice mean streak to him. He's got nice size. Why not take him in the 6th round, 7th round? I think that makes sense. And I know Joe, you and I have talked about this. It wouldn't surprise me if they went 5 offensive linemen, 6 offensive linemen over the next 2 years like they did in 2011, 2012. I think the stars are aligning for that with all the turnover that they're potentially going to have on that line in the coming seasons, not named Kevin Dotson. So, I think it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But, I just think that they're going to come away with 2 offensive linemen, a running back, some sort of DB, probably a corner, maybe a tight end if they feel the value is there. And then D-line, I'd be stunned. They have too many dudes on that D-line, and all of them are under contract. Getting Alualu back, getting Wormley back, they like Carlos Davis. They have a lot of guys there that I think they kind of fit the need. I think they're pretty set and pretty comfortable with how the room looks right now. Maybe obviously the stereotypical linebacker. I do think they add an edge. I think that's the one position where they add a mid-round guy to go and just compete with Highsmith, to push him. I think it's Highsmith's job. Compete with him, push him, get some nice depth out of it, and call it a day.
Yeah, absolutely. Carson
Drew
Green.
Chrisman.
Well, who? What?
Drew Chrisman.
Oh,
Drew Chrisman, punter. They're going to draft a punter in 7th round.
Just
Drew
like
Chrisman.
Sepulveda. I mean, hey, if that's, I don't make fun of those because it secures a guy and you don't have to fight for anybody else as a priority free agent. Carson Green, Texas A&M, another tackle you might want to throw in that mix with Dan Moore maybe. There's maybe another guy from the MAC or something like that was on the list as well. But I digress. I think we have hammered it home with all of the draft everything, and now we'll actually get to cover this stuff. So tune in post-draft. We'll try and get back to you as soon as possible at the conclusion of each day of the draft coming up. Brian is nodding his head yes. Hopefully he's not nodding out of sleep. Zach will actually not be able to join us because he will be at a wedding. He's in the wedding. It's not his wedding, so no need to congratulate him.
If it was your wedding and you didn't invite us, we'd be offended.
You'd be invited, and I also would still be doing the podcast if that was the case.
But, yep, thank you, guys. Bravo. Thank you, guys. Brian, thanks for joining me. Zach, thanks for joining me. You heard their voices. Brian E. Roach, we call him the professor. Zach Meckler. My name is Joe Kuzma. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tune back in at the end of the week here for at least 2 more draft shows. A third one, maybe something else with undrafted free agents. And until next time, as we always do, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good. Don't get mad at the first round pick, and we will catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.